Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hello, everybody, and good evening to the Sunday night edition of Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly. Hello, Heidi. Good to see you. Much love from Pittsburgh. Michelle, good to see you. Kurt, great to see you. Oh, boy, I tell you what a day. Wish this damn heat would get over with. Joe Fox, good to see you, buddy. It's just like so damn hot. It really is. It's crazy. It's like been in the 90s and all that crap. And it's just too damn hot. You know, I'll tell you how hot it is. Okay, I got my air conditioner set in my room at 68 degrees with the fan going, the ceiling fan. And it's not cooling the room off. The Freon's in there, but I just don't know. Maybe I'm just like going through menopause, if y'all know what that means. You know, they say menopause. I say menopause because I do believe that men go through menopause. Yes, I don't know. What's your thoughts out there, ladies and gents? I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans, for allowing me to give you an hour on Sunday night, 8:10 to 9:10 p.m., and on Tuesday nights, 8:10 to 9:10 p.m. And I just have a little announcement here. Oh gosh, Heidi, it's 100 degrees here. Holy smokes, man. She's watering. I'm glad you're getting the flowers, you know. I'm glad you're getting the flowers watered. They need them. But tomorrow, I got some exciting news. I am going to be a guest on Lorelei Potvin's podcast, The Angel Rock, which is at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. And I am so looking forward to being her guest. Vet Girl goes, hey, Vet Girl. Vet Girl says, yes, absolutely, men oppose. Men it oppose everything. Wow, what's with this heat wave out there, guys? Ladies and gents. Hey, Vet Girl. But you know what? Honestly, I don't know. But I'm not going to get into it because I have something to tell you guys. Well, I'll repeat with Lorelei. I'll be on the Angel Rock tomorrow night at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So I'm really looking forward to being on her show. So if you're not doing anything tomorrow, stop on UPRN and go to the Angel Rock, and I'll be her guest. So I need to tell you guys something, and this is like blows me away. Yeah, water the wildlife too. That's true. Miss Squirrel is sitting on the chair. That's cool. But I have to tell you something which like kind of like blew me away. Okay. Now, I don't believe there is coincidences. I believe that everything happens for a reason. Okay. So about 3 or 4 days ago, my brother works at a car wash. And this book has been sitting in their office for over 2 years. Okay. And my brother said, "Can I have that and give it to my brother?" Because he does podcasts. And they said, "Sure, take it, not a problem." So that the other night, my brother brought this home and he gave me this book. It's 1,000 pages. No shit, 1,000 pages. No coinky dinks. But it is the whole records of the Salem witch trials. Let me see if I can get it up there. Check that out. So I was going through the book. Is that upside down? I don't know. Yep, it's upside down. Let's go this way. Try to get it. Okay. It is the book of the Salem witch trials, which chronicles them going through the trials. Hey, Cindy Mitch, good to see you. Much love to you. And it's the chronicles of the witch trials, all the interviews with the people who got, like, all the witches that got prosecuted. Yeah, I know, Kurt. It was an awesome find. So no coinky dinks. This book happened to fall into my brother's lap, in which he gave it to me. And you guys know, a lot of you people know, whenever something is given to you, it just has that kind of energy that you're drawn to. Okay, really, seriously, you're drawn to it. And ever since I've had this book, and even though I read like 3 or 4, 5, maybe 6 pages of it, right? I'm just like, it's like the book was calling my name. And I was like, wow. And wherever I go, the book is there. Hey, Bob Pasco, good to see you, sir. And so today, I decided, why not talk about the Salem witch trials and how it happened? And I wrote some stuff down, and of course, I'll be looking at my notes here about it. But you know, as I was just going over the wiki and what I saw on Google and whatever like that, God bless them people, man. But back then in the 1690s, 1600s, 15th century, however you want to call it, 16th century, Massachusetts were ran by the Puritans. And before I get into the witch trials, I'm going to read what Puritans were back then. Puritans were a group of English Protestants who, during the 16th and 17th centuries, sought to purify the Church of England from what they perceived as remnants of the Roman Catholicism. They emphasized strict moral codes, simple worship, and a strong work ethic, often advocating for reforms within the church, and eventually establishing their own colonies in North America. The Reformed Puritans believed the Church of England hasn't fully broken away from Catholicism during the Reformation and sought to simplify the practices and doctrines. Basically, everything in a nutshell, the Puritans were hardcore religious people. Okay. And they didn't take crap from nobody. It was their way or the highway. Okay. So I needed to tell you what the Puritans were, because that's what they were mainly. That's who were the judge, jury, and the executioners of these people who were so-called witches. Okay. And So I'm looking through all this stuff. I'm looking through YouTube, everything like that, and you couldn't help but feel for the people who were accused of being a witch. They were treated like crap, and I just would like to, do a little bit of the beginning of the trials up to the witches being hung. I mean, I'm not going to get through the whole history behind the witch trials because there's a lot more to it. But I figure I'd start off with just how it started, and we're going to go from there. And if it's really interesting, I think it's interesting. And I think my Tuesday night show, I'm going to do a second part of the Salem witch trials. You know, the conclusions of the trials. Um, and I think it's going to be an awesome show. You know, I have no doubt in my mind it's going to be an awesome show because it's my show. But it started in a little town called Salem Village in Massachusetts in 1692. And what triggered this hysteria was that there were two young girls. I'm sorry, but I got to look at my notes here, everybody. Elizabeth Paris and Abigail Williams. Now, Elizabeth Paris was the daughter of what was he? He was like a priest. Okay. Laurel, I'll say, and all dogs settled down my time in watching. Hey, Laurel, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. He was like like a priest for in the Puritan community. Okay. Um, and so what was happening to these two little girls is that they were exhibiting strange behavior, including fits and contortions. Now, when you look at the contortions as we go on into the show, go later on in the show, um, if you have a muscle spasm, okay, when you guys get muscle spasms, your body contorts weird ways. I know mine does. But that's what was happening to these two little girls. And here's where it became craziness then. The medical doctor back then did not understand what was going on with the girls. He had no diagnosis for what was happening. But he came up with the conclusion that the girls were bewitched. And that was it. And that's when all hell broke loose. When they were told that when the doctor came up with being bewitched. Okay. And what happened was there was a lot of people like going crazy and hysteria going everywhere. And so when the doctor came out with them being bewitched, there was a lot of people in there saying, okay, who's the witch? Who's the witches? Who's the witches? And I mean, it was crazy. And there was so much pressure put on the little girls, they started accusing people. Hey, Miss, good to see you, hon. And the two little girls decided to start blaming people who could have caused this. Okay. I mean, it was because we don't know what the history is behind that. We don't. Were they forced to start telling on people? Did the Catholic people or the Protestants or the Puritans, they kind of forced the girls' hands? We don't know. We probably won't know. But the first three witches, people that were so-called witches, that were pointed out by the girls, was the number one was the first one was her name was Tituba. I think that's how you pronounce that, Tituba. And she was an enslaved woman in the house, in the household of Paris's. Okay. Basically, she was like a maid to them. It's the only way I can actually think of them being a maid to them. And so the girls blamed them, blamed her. And then they went to, and I guess her name's pretty good. I'm not really big because this is actually first time really getting into this. The second one was Sarah Good. And Sarah Good, all she was a beggar. That was all she was. And the third one was Sarah Osborne. And she was an elderly outcast. So even to go and start blaming people, hey, this girl's a witch, she did this to me, over because one damn doctor said they were bewitched. And that's not the sad part about it, okay? So when all this shit was going down, news was spreading all over that area. I don't have it written down. If I repeat myself, okay, I'll be there. I'll repeat it. And so what happened was there was a bunch of other girls in different towns that were going through the same things that these two young girls in Salem town were doing. The contortions, the vomiting, whatever. And there was a lot of people at the time that were getting accused of being a witch. That's just like me, somebody coming up and say Sean is a witch. And then back then, they took me, and if I denied it, then they would hang me either way. I was guilty. That's how the Puritans looked at it. They were guilty. And what kind of sucked the most about that is that they did not have no legal representation. Okay. They didn't have no lawyers. They didn't have nobody sticking up for them. So once you were convicted, you knew you were going to die. They weren't going to believe you. That sucked. You know what I mean? That really sucked. Kurt says, I believe in witches in history having some kind of powers or curses. Sean, I know you know about the Johnstown flood, but did you hear what happened to Livermore 100 years before it's 30 miles away? No, I haven't, buddy. I have not. But no, I agree with you. I'm sure that there are witches that did have some kind of powers, dude. I'm sure. But this is how it all became. Now, in the meantime, this shit was going on in the United States, up in Massachusetts, okay? But over in Europe, I don't know the exact number, but I know 15,000 or more were told that they were prosecuted as witches. And this is over in Europe before it got over here into the States. But we don't hear nothing about them trials over there. No, not at all. I mean, how can you go around and blame somebody? Well, or just pick somebody out of a crowd. If you don't like them, and say, hey, they're a witch, or they're a sorcerer, or they're or a male witch, whatever. I don't know. But this thought just came into my head. Think about it. Look how many people turn on people. Look at how many people accuse other people of doing something that they never did. They accuse them because A, they're jealous of them. B, they don't like them. So in a way, if you look back in the 1692, right, to now, you can put the both situations together. Mish says it's a misunderstanding. Yes, ma'am, it is a misunderstanding. But it's sad because it still goes on today and people's lives were ruined because of the misunderstandings. Just like the people who were convicted of witchcraft back in 1692. Now, we don't have Puritans around here. Maybe out east, they're Quaker, the Quakers and stuff. I think the Quakers are considered Puritans. I'm not sure. But they were hardcore. They were hardcore people. A little bit off the subject, I remember there is a cemetery, maybe about a half hour, 45 minutes from me. It's called Quaker Cemetery. And in this cemetery, there is like a little chapel in it. So our very first investigation that we went down to, there were people in my group who were knuckleheads, and they decided to go into the chapel and raise some ruckus. And someone took a picture of this big dude standing in the corner that had the Puritan, I guess, clothes that they wore back then. And his eyes were glowing red. That's a fact. That's the truth. And we ran the hell out of there. We got out of there because we got scared. Kurt says in Livermore on May 31st, 1789, they burnt a witch at a stake. As she was burning, she said, "In 100 years, I'll get all my water to put out the fire and curse the town." The Johnstown flood was May 31st, 1889. Oh, wow. That's craziness. But you know what also, Kurt? There's a witch down, Joe knows about it, but down in New Orleans, the same thing. You know, people did not like this witch. And Kurt says, in Livermore is now underwater, still is to this day. Might have to look into that, buddy. But I know there was an incident down in New Orleans where they burned a witch or they hung a witch. And no, it's some town in Arkansas. I think Alabama or Arkansas, where they chained this person up thinking she was a witch, and she put a curse on the village and she burnt the city down. Yeah. So maybe there are people out there who do curses back then. You know what I mean? Look in the Appalachians. But, you know, everyone gets this theory about witches like they're mean and they were black and they curse people. That's not true. Most of the Appalachian people, you know, women who were considered witches were healers. They lived off the land. They had homemade remedies. They cared for people. They took care of the sick and healed them back to life. So to me, you know, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a black witch or a white witch. There isn't. A witch is a witch is a witch. And they're allowed to practice however they want to practice. It's their choice. We have no say-so in it. But back in the 1690s, they never did. They had no choice. They got screwed terribly, and they ended up paying with their lives. What do I have today? I have a lot of friends who practice witchcraft, who are witches, who are Wiccans, who are Wiccas. And they're the sweetest, kindest people you ever want to meet. And they are good to everybody. And they care. They don't cast no damn spells. You know, the ones that cast the spells, sorry about that light being in my glasses here, everybody. But the ones who cast spells are the ones that want to try to be a witch. There's a lot of steps you got to go through in order to be one. Yeah. Which witch is a witch? That's cool. That's cool, Miss. But I believe, you know, in my heart, knowing what I know, witches get a bad deal. They get a bad deal. So let me get back to my notes here. We continue. I have a tendency of talking on about trying to get off the subject and stuff like that, but I don't. I just start talking because I'm Irish, and whatever pops into my head pops into my head. But what I had to say about how I feel about witches, I needed to tell you that because that's where I stand. That's how I feel. But you got to remember, everybody, you can't judge a person on what they do, who they believe. Stay on the path, Sean. You know what, Miss? If I stayed on the path, this would be a half-hour show, no lie. If I stayed on the path. But so you can't judge them. You have to accept them for who they are. Don't make fun of them. Just show them a lot of respect. They are not scary people. They are loving and caring people who want to help, who want to cure, who want to help, take care of people. And that's what they are. So, as I was telling you earlier, the accusation spread to the other towns because there were other girls with the same symptoms. So they started accusing people. Remember I told you earlier about the girls that in the other towns had the same things as those young girls did? Yeah. Well, they were doing the same thing. They were just blaming people. And of course, those people were considered a witch and they were hung. Yeah. It's sad. It's sad. But I guess we have no control over that right now. But I'm sure, to me, that the witch trials in Salem, okay, really put their mark into the history of America by this. So the trials were overseen by the court of Oyer and Terminer. And in this court, it resulted in 20 people. 19 were hung, and one was, pressed to death by stones. 19 people were hung just in this little Salem town, But like I said, in this Tuesday coming up, I'll probably get some more information because right now what I'm doing with you guys is just getting the basics on how it all started and what happened. But we're at the 30-minute mark and I need to go on a break. So I'm going to play a couple, promos for everybody, and then I will be back. Okay, everybody, let's see. They really changed this around, so I don't know who I'm going to play, but we'll do this.
Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana Fierster, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward.
Well, hold on. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second part of Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly. Again, I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans. Just a quick announcement. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., I am going to be on the Angel Rock Show with Lorelei Potvin, and I really hope to see you guys there, I'm really looking forward to being on her podcast. Thank you, Heidi. I'm telling you, maybe I might shave my beard. Okay, while we're doing the rest of the show, I want to put a little thing out there. What should I do? Should I shave the beard or should I keep the beard? I just would like to hear other people's opinions on it. Kurt says, well, what the hell is that? Crazy. Times were different then, but people harming people is wrong and for really no reason. They didn't have proof of anything. Yeah, that's true. They had no proof. Well, Heidi says keep it. Mish says goatee. So yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, I look like Santa Claus or something like that. But during this time, during the witch trials, there was a whole bunch of other factors, too, that was going on into the Puritans, into Salem, into the Salem village or Salem town during the trials. Okay, and the factors were religion. That was the first. That was the first factor. Okay. The Puritans had a strong belief in the devil. So everything you did, if you did so wrong, you're the devil. Ain't that crazy? The second thing was social and political tensions. Again, if you look at it, the tensions that I could possibly think of with the social is that people really couldn't do what they wanted to do. They were under the iron fist of, the clergy of the Puritans. And I guess there was a lot of fighting going on with the political tension too. Maybe they didn't want the Puritans in there. Maybe they wanted to go a different route. Again, Kurt, if you look at it, if they had political tensions back there and we got political tensions, I don't know. It just seems like everything's coming around full circle on that. And there was a lot of disputes over land, economic hardships, and a rivalry with Salem town. So I guess there was a Salem village and there was also a Salem town. And like I told you before, there was a lack of legal precedent. Okay. Kurt was saying, I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say, it kind of sounds like today. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It really, really does. It's so true, Kurt. Like I told you before, there were no lawyers back then. There was nobody actually sticking up for the defendants back then. So if you want to call it a kangaroo court back then, okay. Well, at least here now in today's world, we got lawyers that do protect the innocent people or people who've been accused of stuff. And here's the other one when you went into court, and this is how they determined that if you were a witch and you were guilty. Spectral evidence. Dreams and visions was accepted as proof of guilt, which fueled hysteria. Now, let me repeat that. Spectral evidence, dreams and visions was accepted as proof of guilt, and which fueled the hysteria that went on during that time. So I guess you couldn't dream back then, huh? Or visions. I'm sure there's so much more to this, but this is the only stuff that I could come up with. Okay, so I'm going to have a dream, and I'm going to tell the court I had a dream, and they're going to hang me for it? Nah. It just doesn't make sense at all, But as we go on, what happened to the girls? You know how they were getting contortioned and all that kind of crap, strange behavior. Now, if you want to, maybe you can help me, look this up later on if you want to. But in 1976, in the Science magazine, what caused the bewitching was a fungus called ergot, E-R-G-O-T. And it was found in rye and wheat, which toxicologists say can cause symptoms such as delusions, vomiting, and muscle spasms. The name of that fungus was called ergot, E-R-G-O-T. So if you guys ain't doing anything afterwards, and if you want to, look that up, and maybe you can get a little bit more information on it. But I guess that's what they baked with was rye and wheat. But I'm no toxicologist and I'm no scientist, so I really don't have an explanation for you on that. But if that's what's caused them to go off like that, then I guess you got to go with it. I'm not sure, but pretty interesting, I think. Hey, Brian, Kevin, good to see you, Kevin. Why do I keep calling you Brian, dude? I don't know why. Kurt says that's what they found in caves and pyramids It causes almost like an hallucination, but also makes you very sick and kind of seem delusional. Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you, Kurt. Heidi says, when I saw the show title, I immediately noticed the date, 1692. And that year came up in my past life reading. So I Googled the year and was like, yes, the Salem witch trials. Interesting, Heidi. Interesting. I believe that I was, how I wasn't hung, but I was drowned or hung, one or the other. And I'll tell you why I believe that I was hung. I believe I was a witch back then because I cannot wear no jewelry, no necklaces around my neck. I can't. I feel like I'm being strangled. And that's the truth. So if y'all want to buy me a 24 karat gold necklace, just hold on to your money because I won't be able to wear it. I can't wear watches. I can't wear rings. I can't do nothing like that. And it bothered me for a long time because I got some nice jewelry, but I just couldn't wear it. And I did a little soul searching, and I had a past life done, past life reading done. And I was part of the trials. And I had 2 past life readings that came up with the same conclusion without me telling them about, why I don't wear jewelry and stuff. Heidi says she has received many year dates. Odd, I thought. Yeah, that is an odd year. But, so these people were brought before magistrates, Jonathan Corwin and John Hawthorne. Good, Sarah Good, and Osborne denied their guilt. But Tituba confessed that she was a witch to save her ass. Others accused at the time were Martha Corey and Rebecca Nurse and their 4-year-old Sarah Good. A 4-year-old. Come on. Is that crazy or what? Heidi says, I was with you somewhere around then, Sean. Oh, wow. That'd be cool. That's awesome to hear. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more there. Heidi says, thank you, Kevin. Intriguing, and I'll have to go back and access the records to get more info, but my column was very tall. Interesting. But the first conviction was Bridget Bishop on June 2nd. And she was hanged 8 days later. And the place where she was hung at, it is now called Gallows Hill in Salem Town. Now, you have Salem Town and you have Salem Village. There are other names to these, and hopefully I can look at and get the real names of the towns they are called now today in Massachusetts. And the whole thing, the whole 20 people, 5 were hung that July, and 5 more were hung in August, 8 more in September. There were 7 accused witches that died in jail, and Giles Corey, Martha's husband, was pressed by stones because he refused to enter a plea at his arraignment. That goes to show you at that time, even if you did plead guilty or you didn't plead guilty, you were still considered a witch and you were dead. They killed you. And this is so sad that happened to those people back then. Maybe the people that they did hang, maybe they were witches. Maybe they did see sight. I see sight. People I know, they they're seers. They're empaths. you know? So can you imagine them hanging every one of us? There wouldn't be a world left. There wouldn't be states left. It's craziness. But I know one thing for sure. We are all good people. Not too many. There's not too many bad people out there. Trust me, there are bad people, but the majority of us are good people, and we care for people and we help people the best that we can. If it's just by being there and letting them talk, or getting them a Band-Aid if they cut their finger, or if we get them some water if they're dehydrated, you know. So we're good people. And if anybody else ever told you anything different from that, then they're wrong. Everyone in my chat room, everybody out there in the countries that listen to my show and listen to all the shows on UPRN, you're good people. And I care for every one of y'all. I really do. I might not show it. I might not talk about it. But I want you all to know I have your back if you need it. And that's how I continue to live. Even though I've been screwed many, 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 many times, I won't stop helping people because I need to do that. And I will never, ever judge anybody because they see visions or because they speak in tongue. So they won't get burned at the stake like these people did back there in the Salem witch trials. I think we all should take a moment tonight before you go to bed and just say a little prayer for them people. Kurt says, hell yes, Sean, you're a great dude. Well said, buddy. We all love and got your back. So don't forget that either. Oh, I know you all do. I know you guys have my back. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful. I am so grateful for every one of y'all. But we are getting close to the witching hour. And don't forget, I will be on the Angel Rock tomorrow night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be on with Lorelei Potvin, or Lorelei, however she wants to call her. I just call her Lori. That's all. She knows it. I can call her Lori. Thank you, Michelle. Michelle agrees. So everybody, and then Tuesday night, I got my show again into the night. And I'm going to try to come up with part 2 of the witches of the Salem witch trials, how it ended. Laura Lee, that's cute. Thank you, Heidi. I'm going to try to come up with that for the topic for this Tuesday coming up, to see the aftermath of the Salem witch trials. And we got some time. I'm just going to see, why do witches supposedly ride brooms? Or why is their cats that they have are all black? Don't know, but I'm going to look it up and I'm going to tell you guys. Okay. Don't forget, Sean Patrick Hazlitt, he has his show on right after mine at 9:10 p.m. here, Through the Glass Darkly. If you want to go over and check him out, show him some love, just stick around and go to his show. He's a good dude, man. Good dude. He has good topics. Good talk. Thank you, Heidi, for sharing it out. Children, if you can, please go to your parents. Is that what it is? Familiars. I wonder what my familiar is. They are protection of the spiritual realm. Ah, cool. Thank you, Heidi. We'll delve into that on Tuesday. Okay. Children, if you can, please go to your parents, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you have no parents and if you have no children, please find somebody, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. Okay? And on that note, good night, everybody. Happy hunting. And I will see you Tuesday night. Oh, no, tomorrow night on Lord Lives, the Angel Rock, and my show Tuesday night on Into the Night.